Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode 125 today for the Belgian Grand Prix in Season 7. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A very good episode for us, not so much for our teammate Lando Norris, as he suffered his first mechanical failure. He's had a DNF before, obviously way back at the Spanish Grand Prix, it feels like ages ago now, so we got a great haul of points over Lando with that. We didn't get the win quite, and once again unable to quite make that two-stop work at Hungary, getting caught up with a bit of traffic with Hamilton. But in the end, it maybe didn't matter to a lot of you guys. Maybe a bit of a fan favourite win was George Russell in the Alfa Romeo. I'm still processing that even happened. He managed to keep behind, legitimately, Racing Points, Mercedes. I don't know how he actually managed it. And, you know, he did well at Silverstone to qualify that high as well, and then got the penalty, then qualified quite well at Hungary, and then went on for that mad race win. So I'm curious to see what he's going to do this episode, but I'm still in, shock and disbelief that even happened. It was like he wasn't even driving an Alfa Romeo, but he was, and his teammate was way down in like second last place, miles away from him. So it really was his AI just doing insane work, and, on his own there with that one win, he's got himself into the top 13 here on the standings page. So yeah, very good race for him. Still a very good race for us, even though we didn't get the win necessarily, didn't get right up there. I think it was still a very fun, aggressive Grand Prix, obviously. Like I said, got caught up in the traffic a little bit, but in the end, it didn't matter because of Lando retiring. Any points we got was going to be a massive positive, and so we do have quite a nice gap and cushion to Norris in the championship. Gasly a bit further back there, but, building some momentum maybe. The Frenchman's been very good in the last 3 races, you can see there, and Ocon, Hamilton, and Stroll been very up and down. Stroll a bit better than, obviously, because he won the Austrian Grand Prix and got a podium at Hungary, but fell off a little bit at Silverstone. So those 3 or 4 or 5 kind of behind myself and Lando, kind of no one's gotten consistent enough to fully try and catch us up. So it's still very much myself v Lando. So going into Belgium, it's about just trying to do the best job we can now. We've got this cushion. It's about trying to control this cushion now towards this as we enter the kind of last third of the season in about an episode or 2. But it's not going to be plain sailing for us at the Belgium Grand Prix. It's always been quite a difficult one actually in qualifying for us, and also race pace has been a little bit iffy. We've actually not dominated ever around here. The AI have been very good, especially in the second sector, and just with the slipstream as well. I feel like it's very hard to really dominate around here, but let's see. This might be the real litmus test of how good this car is, because it has been so consistent over one lap for us, and generally even in the races, I know we've had a few iffy moments, both myself and Lando, but generally speaking, we've been very strong. There's a reason why we've won 2 in the championship, so this might be the litmus test finally. Can we actually have a clean and good weekend around Belgium, and can it be another 1v1 with myself and Lando, maybe at another circuit? At the moment in Q1, then just trying to get through into the second part of qualifying. I imagine both McLaren and Racing Point, though, will look very strong around here. We've seen so many times in the race, they take off like rocket ships through acceleration zones, and have been very good on the straights. That hasn't necessarily always given them great positions in the race, because they've been caught up in traffic or incidents or whatever, and McLaren especially, they've really had a mare in qualifying this entire season, not really showing their pace until the race, and then it's kind of too late because they're so far back. So let's watch out for them. And Mercedes, like I said, in the hands of Gasly at least. Verstappen's been very poor in the last 3-4 episodes, but Gasly has looked really on it, and it looks like he's finally finding some pace and some form in that silver arrow. So we'll watch out for that. But in Q1, interesting times here. McLaren showing up, Verstappen showing up, so maybe he's been listening to me, but Leclerc also way up there in P4. Russell again outperformed the Alfa Romeo, not as much as maybe he was in the last few episodes, but still P13. And myself and Lando maybe a little bit down on pace than maybe you would have thought compared to the previous episode. So that's what I mean by, for whatever reason, the FOM car doesn't seem as strong around Spa, or maybe the AI are just really good around here. But to my surprise, we enter Q2, it's raining. I had no indication of this. There was no indication on the weather forecast on any of the menus that there was going to be some rain here for this race weekend. And so we've got it. It's such a dramatic switch to intermediates. And so here we are. We've set the car up for a dry, setup, because the race is going to be dry. I thought the entirety of qualifying was going to be dry. So this may be a struggle, because as you guys know, I'm not that great in the wet, especially over one lap, even more so than the race, where you can kind of get used to everything. So we we need to watch out for that. And when I really needed this first lap to be a decent one, it's not looking so. Big lock up there into the chicane, losing at least a few tenths, I would say, in that brake zone alone, because the front end just did not bite in with the lock up on the front left. And across the line, it's only P9 there, and by the time we go for our second run, we're down to 15th. We're only only Giovinazzi's behind us on the tower timing sheets right now, and we've got 4 and a bit minutes to go. So this is it. This is our final run, because being such a long lap, we won't get another one in. We have to perform to get into the top 10 shootout. So this is massively different. We're on the back foot here, and we're actually under pressure of being knocked out in Q2. And the thing is, what I quickly realized as we went out on this lap, we gained some time in Sector 1 there, just off the first corner alone, nearly 5 tenths gained. But as we entered part of Sector 2, look at the top left, Giovinazzi, he's gone on the full wet tyres, and it's a lot darker right now as we enter the last sector as well. And so what's happened is there's been localized rain, and it's actually time for heavy rain. It's the heavy rain. It's time for full wets now in the last sector, so we lose most of the time we gain in Sector 1 and Sector 2. We have a better chicane, so it gains us some time, but look at the top right, it's only 4 tenths gained. We needed way more than that, and so as we go across the line, it's only 3.5 tenth improvement, and that's it. That's it. Qualifying's over for us, and we are in P14 at the moment. Don't think anyone else is going to go quicker, so it will be P14 on the grid. And Lando, to be fair, only just got through in P7 there, but in terms of timings, we had an absolute mare. We were so slow around there, and it was really off the first run. Not doing well enough in the first run just hindered us, because the second run, as I said, with the heavy rain coming in, was never going to be that much quicker. We improved in the first sector, little bit in the second, lost a lot of it in the third. We needed a much better first lap, and that's what happens when you don't get the lap in when the weather is a little bit more favourable in these kind of conditions. And so for the first time in a long while, actually, it feels like in this season, we've been caught out massively in qualifying, and well, there's not much else to do. I can't blame anything. It's just me not being quick enough in the wet, really. It's one of my biggest weaknesses when it comes to racing against AI. I can just never compete toe-to-toe that much, I feel, especially over one lap in the wet. It is what it is. It's going to be a dry race tomorrow, so we put it behind us. We look forward to the grid, and we're gonna just have to try our all best to use what we know we can in this car in the dry and try and climb up the order.
Welcome along then to the Belgian Grand Prix, the race that gave us the maiden victory for the Jordan team in 1998, and in the same team the phenomenal debut of a young Michael Schumacher. There's always something special around one of the many corners of this fan favourite circuit. So here we are once again, ready to go racing through the Ardennes forest. 4.35 miles of long straights, fast corners and massive elevation changes. It makes this not only one of the most exciting circuits on the calendar, but one that makes for some consistently high quality racing as well. Simply put it, there really is no place quite like Spa. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Should we kick off our conversation with George Russell? That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Pierre Gasly lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Norris, Stroll, Alexander Albon and Ocon, Leclerc, Hamilton, Kvyat and George Russell, Sainz, Matsushita, Nick de Vries and the owner driver, Bottas, Giovinazzi, Daniel Ricciardo and Nicholas Latifi, Giotto, Schumacher, Magnussen and Jack Aitken. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Well, we can still have a very good race from here. It's not that bad. 4 places off the top 10. We've qualified before in P9 and gone on to fight for the podium. So the race pace will come through, I feel, with this car, as it has done so many times this season. But it's going to be about just trying to find a way through. There's a lot of competitive cars around here. Even like the Alpha Tauris, the Alpines, the Alfa Romeo, Russell, massively competitive as we've seen in the recent races. So that might be the challenge. And also, once we catch catch up to then some properly quick cars. You know, maybe one of the McLarens, if they're down the order, then that might be a tricky situation, as it was in Hungary when we were unable to overtake Hamilton as quick as I wanted to. And again, both the McLarens didn't qualify that well, so again, they might be an issue. Leclerc very much did. Lando Norris in third, and it was a front row lockout for the Mercedes cars. I think it was still raining in Q3, so I think the rain has helped out that team, but that's a massive statement for them to come punching back. They haven't really been in the frame for many of the fights this season, but Mercedes are slowly but surely trying to refine that pace they had in the first race where Verstappen won at Australia, remember, so many episodes ago. So let's go to this one then. In terms of our race, it's eyes forwards, hopefully, and trying to make up the damage and limit the damage to Lando up in third place. So with that then, let's go to 5 red lights to the Belgium Grand Prix. 22 laps to make up for Saturday. 4 red lights are out, and we're underway, and it's a horrendous start for us as the car nearly goes into anti-stall there, as we didn't get high enough revs. We're playing around with the throttle, trying to get a good exit. In the end, ironically, we got a worse exit. We're getting pinched now by the Ferrari and Red Bull, and there's yellow flags up the road, and we've got an illegal overtake on Ricciardo, apparently. Virtual safety car is out, as one car is out of this Grand Prix, and in giving the position back to Ricciardo, we've had to also give the position back to Giovinazzi. So that's actually been an absolutely horrendous start then. We've gone backwards. We're down to P17. I didn't even realise there, as we got pinched in between these two, and the virtual safety car is coming to an end now, as the stricken car was all the way back at turn 1, so very quick virtual safety car. Latifi's got a penalty behind his 5 seconds, and Giovinazzi as well. I expect both of them got that for not allowing cars back through under the virtual safety car. We did, and so we're not penalised, but we did get penalised in terms of losing 2 positions. So, okay, so much so for looking forwards. We've actually gone backwards then at the start of this Grand Prix. Very, very odd start. I did blip the throttle, because I usually do that anyway to try and get the perfect revs to get a good launch, and now we're being attacked by Latifi. What's going on here? We are losing all sense of composure. What was that exit speed from the Alfa Romeo versus us? Maybe that's an answer to maybe how George Russell was able to hold on to that victory at the Hungarian Grand Prix, but yeah, I've done that technique I do most races, where I try and dab the throttle a bit to get the right rev range, but I guess I mistimed it this time, and as soon as it gets to 5 red lights, the car just didn't budge, and it almost went to anti-stall at any lower rev, so very disconcerting there, and we're now losing some time to Ricciardo, but he's going to try and attack Giovinazzi. Can we catch him napping? Maybe go left to right, go for the switchback move. No! Oh, no! Latifi! What has he done? We've been spun round by the Alfa Romeo, and there's a Williams stricken as well. I think that's made some contact with us. This is an absolute disaster. What is going on this race? We're down to P19 now. I can't believe it. What is going on in the Belgium Grand Prix? We're just going backwards here. I try to go, what is Latifi? What is that? What is that from the Canadian? That was the most kamikaze, and then he crashes into the Williams and breaks the Williams front wing. Latifi, GG's, mate. I don't know what that is. That is a kamikaze dive. Look at it. He's nowhere near us, and he's just gone into the side of us. We were going left to right, obviously, because, you know, Ricciardo is getting caught up behind Giovinazzi. I thought we could try and switch it left to right, get a bit of a sharper line, that chicane, and instead Latifi's just chosen to dive bomb us when there was literally not even a physical gap on the inside there, and the testament to that was because his front wing went straight into our side pod and spun us round, and because I was already turning right because it was a right-hander, the car just went round so quickly, and so here we are then, P19, miles away from everyone, and now we've got a very long race on our hand. 5 seconds to the next car, so we've got to get our head down and just try and push as hard as we can. In stark contrast though, a man feeling very comfortable in this race is the race leader, Pierre Gasly, looking dominant really, and in second place it's Stroll, Lando Norris in third place, our teammate. Then you've got, I think it's the other racing point of Albon, and yeah, Verstappen from second place on the grid is down in 5th place, and it looks like he's actually holding up the McLarens or Ocon and Hamilton. What is going on with Verstappen? What is it with Mercedes? You know, one car at Mercedes can only do well, it would seem, and the other one, well, the other AI just gets ruined. You know, Hamilton's AI was ruined by Mercedes, and it looks like it's Verstappen's turn, because Gasly's looking so dominant there in first place with a massive gap in first, and Verstappen is getting swarmed by the McLaren, And as we watch on with Albon making the overtake on Lando, so Albon up into 3rd place. It's a 3-wide move, and the McLarens are sandwiching Verstappen, and they're really pincering him, but Verstappen's done very well, to be fair to him, to defend, and just about kept that 5th place. Can there be a dive bomb there from Hamilton? I think there will be. Hamilton gets his nose in down the inside, but Verstappen the long way round just about keeps it in 5th place there. But Verstappen looking so much slow. Look at that. He's backing the McLarens up into the likes of the AlphaTauri. That's how slow he is compared to his teammate there. Bonkers stuff. Really, it's an enigma in our career mode, save ours here in this series, about the Mercedes team. Only one car can seemingly do well, as Gasly dominates this one right now with a healthy gap then to the 2 racing points. We're now 2 and 3, showing some real good pace here. And Lando showing that maybe once again our car is just not great around Belgium, and he's down to P4. But let's see how that progresses for him as we move back to our POV then. And we've gotten our head down, we pushed hard, lap number 4 onto 5, and we're finally catching up to the tail end of the pack. So to say we had such a slow start off the line, getting pinched in, having to give 2 positions back, and then spun around at this very corner. We've done well in four laps to get back at Mick Schumacher now, really being quite overly aggressive, I will admit, but you can obviously maybe understand why, because I was a bit peeved off at this moment in time in terms of how far back we are. So we make a kamikaze dive on Magnussen, bit of contact made on the left-hand side, but we get the elbows out, and we're up into P17. The Haas car's so much slower than us, so we just need to get them out of the way. Now, though, this might be an issue. Bottas is a bit slow, and we actually gained a lot of momentum there around the outside, but I'm saying this is a problem because the AlphaTauri is a very quick car. The Ferrari has been in stages at the hands of Leclerc, and the Red Bull, we know, has been a little bit up and down, so these cars may be harder to try and fly through, but we do make a very nice move on Bottas there to finish it off with a bit of a drift on the exit, and now we're gaining on Giovinazzi. He's got a 5-second penalty, but obviously that's a long way to be served in the pit stop, so we need to get the move done and not dawdle too much. We gain a lot there through Blanchimont and down into the bus stop chicane on the inside. It's going to be neck and neck as we go through the chicane exit. It's a really lovely sight to see, but we're going to mince him on the exit with the traction. Despite him having DRS, we open DRS as well, and we're able to pull away. And then lap number 7, first sector purple, second sector though is going to be a bit red as we catch a bit of dirty air off the back of Ricciardo and Sainz, the 2 Red Bulls then in tandem here, P14 and 13. Can we get past them though with some urgency, because then we've actually got some business, because after the 2 Red Bull cars, we're slowly then getting towards actually the top 10 finish. So not bad, I would say, really considering that first lap. We've done very well to be in P15 on lap number 7. Is our teammate Lando. He is in for his first pit stop, but we're making a big old dive on Ricciardo. A bit of a double lock up there as we try and slam down the brakes to get this thing slowed down. And we're up into P14 then with a deja vu move as we made on Giovinazzi on Ricciardo. But looking now to try and get on the back of Sainz. Very late on the braking, but we're helped out by Sainz getting held up a little bit there, I feel, by Russell, and also a bit of a twitch of the rear end, so the tyre wear is kicking in. I mean, Lando's already in, so it's already time for the pit stop window, but we're going to continue on, because the longer we go on these softs and try and use them, I think the better, because we've seen in previous Belgium Grand Prix, the tyre wear really isn't that bad, actually. If you can go longer on the softs, that'll actually help you out than the end of the medium tyre stint. And so with DRS, we're able to overtake Sainz. We actually forgot to open DRS halfway through that straight, so at the end of it, finally remember to hit the button and look up the road. Russell and Matsushita, an absolute ding-dong battle that is brewing, as Russell is going right around the outside. He's down in P10, so not the lofty height of P1, but showing he's still got some really good racing craft and good pace in the Alfa Romeo there to make some good moves, and he's overtaken the Japanese driver in the Alpine car. Can we try and get him though sooner rather than later? A bit of a screen freeze there as we go through Puompa. I think we just need to be patient through the next sector and then just wait for the move as we go through Blanchimont towards the bus stop chicane, and then we can look on the back of George Russell, but it will then soon be time for us to come in. But we're not going to come in on this lap because I've got good pace. I've done a green first sector with 8 laps of tyre wear, red second, but that's because we got held up looking at the battle with Russell and Matsushita. And here we go then, deploying the rest of the ERS. It's going to be side by side, very, very fine on the right-hand side, trying to squeeze out the Japanese driver, and we're up into P11 then, and we are not going to pit this lap. Like I said, the only reason that red second sector is there is because of the traffic, so we've still got some decent pace. 4-5 cars come in. That's good news for us. That means they're clearly struggling with their tyres, but I'm feeling pretty good. You know, despite the higher tyre wear this season, I think the last few seasons we've seen around Belgium, for whatever reason, I think the AI just, they seem to pit very early. I feel like you should go a little bit longer. And so here we are then, lap number 9, and we're actually gaining on Russell. We're going to come in this lap. It might be very useful to overtake him before the pit stop. So here we go to the inside, then Russell's going to give us a bit of a squeeze, but we get the nose turned in, and that is going to be crucial because he comes in as well. So that's one less car to overtake. We've already done the overtake. We won't get held up in the pit lane as well, and so that's very good news for us. So we've made really good progress there. 2 moves with the Alpine and the Alfa Romeo. Obviously, we're going to have to see now here on the exit how we do on the undercut. Now, what in terms of, we've gone for the overcut, obviously, so have the other teams, have the other drivers undercut us by a lot? I don't think so, because we haven't really seen it be that powerful here around Spa. And I've just seen in the pit lane, we've actually jumped a racing point of Albon there. That's Albon. That definitely is Albon behind us. Yeah, there you go. He set the purple to fast up the Grand Prix, but he's come out behind us. I don't know how that's actually happened, so we're going to have to watch a replay for that a little bit after. But immediately, right now, we'll stay on board with ourselves because Kvyat is looking very quick somehow in the Alpine car. What's going on here as we're deploying ERS, but he's got the DRS, of course, and he's on the inside. We give him some room to work with. It's very fine on the right-hand side. We have to actually defend against the Russian for a bit, but we're up in P8. We're already in the points-paying positions now, so we have had actually a stonking comeback drive, and this is why, then, Albon is behind us. So this was before the pit stop, and oh, in the same place the Mercedes cars in 2014 tangled, the 2 Mercedes copycats, the Aston Martin liveried Racing Point cars, come together at that right-hander. And as we move on to lap number 10, oh no. Well, would you look at that? That's karma, isn't it? That is absolute karma. Nicholas Latifi with an engine failure. Can't say I'm disappointed or sad for him whatsoever. And so we're up into P7 then with that. And Albon, unfortunately, had to change the front wing, so that's why he actually fell behind us in the pit stop. So at the moment, looking pretty good. Leclerc 2.7 up the road. We should be able to catch him in theory, but Albon is massively quick. He already had the fast lap of the Grand Prix before we overtook him here in the first stint, and he's looking so quick through Blanchimont into the bus stop. We actually take it easy and on purpose. Don't put up too much of a fight there. Try and go for a bit of a switchback move, but in the end, he actually out-tractions us. Albon, we saw in the first stint how quick he was. He overtook Lando. He's got the fast lap of the Grand Prix. I think he's going to be quick enough to overtake the Ferrari. I wasn't too confident about catching Leclerc in the amount of laps we had because my car, well, I don't know, I think the FOM car is a bit draggy, and around Spa, it's very draggy compared to most. So I'm going to use Albon, or the theory is I'm going to try and use Albon as a bit of horse and carriage and try and use him to pull me along with DRS, and then we'll overtake both of them. At least that's my grand master plan as we watch on the race leaders. Gasly in first place, still dominating this one then from pole position. Second place, Stroll. We saw there, obviously, Lando was, I think, in third place now because obviously Albon got demoted down with that issue with his front wing. But we move on to lap 15, and can you see the problem at the moment? Bottom right, our DRS has failed. So we don't have DRS. It won't matter anyway because we're actually out of DRS. 1.2, the pace has really dropped off here, and Albon is going off like a rocket ship ahead of us. So at the moment, lap 15, my mastermind plan, not exactly going to plan there, as I'm not within DRS, and even if I was, I don't have DRS to use. So we'll see about that. We'll keep you updated. But meanwhile, it looks like Lando is showing the car doesn't actually have that much pace because Ocon has gone for a really good move, but they're still going at it side by side. Lando keeps his foot in. It's actually become a really great scrap between Ocon and Lando Norris. But Ocon is on the outside. He's got the better line, but Lando comes back and around the outside. Oh, it's so close towards Pouon. Surely he can't do it around the outside. I think Ocon has it. Yes, he does. But for a split second there, Lando is giving it everything to defend the third place, but Ocon is up into the podium position. So it's Gasly from Stroll, Ocon, Lando. I think it's Verstappen next, quite some way away, so he's still struggling in this race, just showing how poor he's been from second place on the grid all the way down to, I think, P5 here, and you can see clearly nowhere near these two, as Lando might have a good run on Ocon, and then behind Verstappen, of course, then it's Leclerc, and then myself and Albon closing up. But we're going to leave this battle and come back to our POV, lap number 19, and things are looking a little bit better for our master plan. We still don't have DRS. If you look on the bottom right there, the red icon still indicates no DRS, but we are within 1/6 second now because we're using some rich mix. We're down to standard right now to save some fuel, but I'm using the rich mix on all the straights pretty much. In the last sector, you can see as we swap it to rich mix, we go down the hill, drifting the car through, but really pushing quite hard. And now, the perfect timing at the end of that lap, onto lap 20, the DRS is back. So the F1 gods have looked down upon us, and what perfect timing this is. We're within DRS, we get DRS back, and this is the perfect moment where me and Albin have closed up to Leclerc. So this is it, the master plan I made about 5 laps ago, 6 laps ago. You know, we've had so many ups and downs, the DRS breaking, us losing some pace to Albin. This is our time to shine with 2 laps to go after this one. We're in the slipstream, DRS open, ERS deployed, rich mix going, and we close up with a double toe, and oh my word, Albin gets caught up behind Leclerc, and we narrowly just have a massive collision with the Thai Brit, but instead we hold our nerve, and we're up into P6, 2 positions for the price of 1. That is how you do it around Spa. That is how you play the other drivers around you like an absolute fiddle. We use Albin to close up to Leclerc, overtake both of them, and Bob's your uncle. We're up into P6, but the job is not done there. Lap 21, the rain is falling. You can see that as we look behind us. The little spits of rain on the chassis as well come off the halo, and Albin behind us is just overtaking Leclerc. So the Racing Point now has a free aim at myself, and we know how quick Albin was in a straight line, and now you can see how gingerly I'm having to go around the final chicane as we enter the last lap of the Grand Prix. The rain is there as we look back behind us constantly. On the rear view, it's much more apparent how much rain there is, but if you look closely at the halo, you can see the streaks of rain coming down. There is a lack of grip on the rear end, so we need to watch out for this, but DRS is still activated here, I think, in these conditions, and Albin is right up our chuff, and so he's going to have a very good run. This is it. We have to defend this, because otherwise he's going to have this one, I think. In Sector 3, there's a lot of rain, so I think this is the point where we need to try and stay ahead, because I don't think we'll get a chance to re-overtake him later on. So here we are, defending to the inside, riding the curb a little bit on the right-hand side, giving him some space to work with, but we just managed to find our way through and keep ahead of Albin. And like I said, in the last sector, the grip is so poor that, look at that, Albin is now 7/10 behind us as the Racing Point loses all sense of composure in these tricky, damp conditions. Pierre Gasly has dominated this one to win the Belgium Grand Prix, but from 19th place on lap number 2 after being spun round, we come home in P5, only 1 position behind our teammate Lando Norris. And you may be wondering how that's possible, because we actually missed it whilst focusing on the battle with Albin, but here's a replay then. Verstappen had too much tyre wear on his mediums, and he came in on the last lap, or onto the last lap of the Grand Prix, for a set of soft compounder tyres. It's Verstappen as having an absolute shocker this season versus Gasly, while his teammate dominates. Verstappen has a mare with a second pit stop. No, not even for inters, for soft compounder tyre, and that's how we gain 1 free position in all of that. And so yeah, Lando P4, us in P5, not too bad for someone who's facing the wrong way round on lap number 1 at the bus stop chicane.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions, and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
So in the end, no one could do anything about Pierre Gasly off pole position. Mr. Qualifying Man, as he was when he was our teammate in, what was it, Season 5, I think? You know, it dominated that one, yeah. I mean, no one touched him, really. Stroll, second place. Bit iffy with Albin, obviously, because the Racing Points were 2 and 3, but that collision allowed Ocon to eventually get up into P3, and Lando slipped down to P4, showing the car, yeah, struggled today, I think. You know, Lando struggled against those guys, and we fought back very well. I think we got a bit lucky, to be honest, with Albin, obviously, but we played Albin and Leclerc to an absolute T, and that was a very clever play to get up the order, and you got to do these things to try and limit the damage, and so in the end, we did the maximum we could have hoped for. We finished just 1 position behind Lando, despite being, like I said, backwards at the end of lap 1, so I honestly, at that point, when I was driving off 5 seconds to Schumacher, I thought maybe, you know, P8, 9 or 10 was going to be possible, but we've done very, very well indeed, and we can be really happy with that. So guys, if you did enjoy that chaotic one, definitely was chaotic, then be sure to smash the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.